Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, and welcome to another exciting installment of Darkness in Dublin. This evening's scene will be the exterior of Agrabah Nights, that eatery at the edge of the universe, as it is that May Rin, the apprentice of Lord Sisho, the master of the Akashic Brotherhood, and one hell of a slacker make their way out into the early nighttime air. The air is crisp, the onset of autumn is obvious as the leaves are scattered about the ground. Though Mayrin doesn't seem to mind. She's wearing hardly anything. She's wearing black slacks with a very thin white t-shirt. Once again, and a point of interest, she's not wearing shoes, despite the fact that she's walking on dangerous city streets, oftentimes where there's glass or other sharp objects lurking underfoot. But they don't seem to bother her.
Isaac, for his part, since today was technically an off day for him, that's still the same day. He's wearing a gray hoodie, some jean slacks, and some high top Converse sneakers. He's got his hands in his pockets. He goes ahead and follows the barefoot woman, making mental notes about all the glass that she is just not stepping on, or even if she is.
She is stepping on it. You'll notice the fact that several times her feet are cut to the point that she will bleed ever so slightly on the sidewalk, but it doesn't seem to bother her, or she doesn't seem to pay any notice.
Well, I know what kind of night we're having.
I choose to point out, she will not make small talk unless you choose to make small talk.
No, we're in a very, very soulless, emotionless type of communion at the moment. We are appreciating each other's presence and yet not acknowledging it. We are proto-goths.
I accept our weird goth union. Okay. You will wend and twist your way through the inner city streets. Dublin city centre is still very much the Victorian city it was built to be, with buildings that are about 4 to 5 stories high looming on either side. However, the streets that link them are narrow, probably only wide enough for a lane of traffic on each side. Once again, Mayrin will not exactly be conversational. She will keep her hands clasped behind her back as she walks with a very fluid grace, despite the injuries to her feet that she doesn't seem to notice. Until finally, you will end up at a shop that says B. Chen Antique Store. She will.
Isaac will go ahead and nod, and if the dear lady goes ahead and stops, he'll finally go ahead and voice a few syllables of speech, the context of which is, so, this the place?
Yes, this is. She will say very calmly, before she will roundhouse kick and shatter the door in.
Well, it's go time.
She doesn't advance her speed. She stays predatorily slow. Like, if you want to run in, you will run in ahead of her.
We are going slow. We are going intimidating. We are going in a little bit stormtroopery. No, I will accept this.
Okay. She will look around with the same predatory eyes that would not be dissimilar to those you might see in some kind of large cat. As she will say, does Isaac speak Japanese or Chinese now?
He does not speak that language, no.
Okay. She will say, Hai Shunte, Hai Shunte Soba. There's no emotion in her voice, but it definitely does carry.
Right. Go ahead.
Until about a minute or so later, you will see this gentleman stumble down the back stairs. He looks terrified.
I think this is Isaac's moment to go ahead and block off, his passage or his exit away from the Tiger Woman.
Okay. She will, with a casual ease, look him up and down. Before she'll return to English and she'll say, Mr. Choi, it is agreeable to see you again. Oh, I have the money. I will pay your master. Please don't My, this is my place of business. My family is here. Oh, I see, she will say in the same monotone, exact voice. Bring them down here. What? Your family? I wish to meet them. Uh, this is between you and. You will see her hand dart forward as it grasps his throat, and with incredible strength, she does not look like she's this strong. She picks him up off the ground with one hand. You will hear the kind of choking rattle as she says, Did that sound like a request, Mr. Choi? Before he is forcibly thrown into a display case, shattering it. Blood starts to pool from a wound in his head before he gets up and very shakily to his feet before bowing and saying more unintelligible words in Chinese makes his way back upstairs.
Okay, okay.
Does Isaac do anything?
Isaac's gonna go ahead and look at the what was
Her
her
name
name
is
again?
Mayrin. Mayrin.
Mayrin. For some reason, I thought it was okay. He'll go ahead and look at
What did,
Mayrin and
what
simply
did you think her
ask.
name was?
Show, actually.
Oh no, Cho is the name of the cat.
It's the name of the. Okay. He'll look at Mayrin. He'll go ahead and ask. So what's the debt?
She contemplates for a few moments. She kind of tips her head back into the side. That would be between us and them. She looks at him again. Unless you seek to become us.
He goes ahead and quit. He looks like he's really thinking about it, and he simply says, "Well, if I knew a little bit about the debt in this situation, then maybe I could go ahead and actually help you."
Master Saisho brought this man's family over from China, and they incurred to him a substantial debt, some 20,000 euros. Of this, they've paid about, she contemplates, 7,000 or so. 13,000 is still balanced. They have not given him his monthly payment for 3 months. I am here to collect.
What would this in collection involve? He says, thinking over that he knows exactly what the collection will be.
She blinks. He will either pay me the full amount due, or I will reclaim the merchandise.
He goes ahead and nods. I think I understand what's going on here.
What is Isaac's current? I mean, this is going to be ironic when I ask this question, considering who he is. Does Isaac have a current emotional state?
Um, his current emotional state is actually he's very, very familiar what is going on. The idea that a human life actually has a value, a monetary value that you could go ahead and put on paper. The idea of an obligation or debt to one person's bodily existence or being. He works at the Smart Mart. And while it may not exactly be the type of human trafficking that occurs here, it is an amount of abject obligation that he is familiar with.
A few moments will pass until it is the family huddles and herds its way down into the shop room. There's an elderly woman who you will assume is Mr. Choi's wife. Two men you would guess to be roughly in their mid-20s, a young woman and two small children. Mr. Choi, she will say in the same monotone voice, do you have Lord Saisho's money? I, not here. You didn't give us time. We gave you more than enough time, Mr. Choi. Your non-payment of the debt is withstanding for 3 months. My master has been patient. I understand. For the record, feel free to jump in at any time if there's anything you want to say.
He's observed. Isaac is definitely observing at the moment, but he'll go ahead and call out. How much does he owe
As it stands, she will say, 13,300 euros is currently outstanding.
for the months?
For the months,
For the 3 months?
1,500.
1,500. And he goes ahead and like waves for the family. How much would you have to go ahead and reclaim?
She looks down, and her hand will point to the two children. At which point you will see them, clearly their mother, the younger woman, holds them close and starts to cry. She kisses their heads and talks in Chinese to them. The children are afraid.
Very afraid.
You will notice one of the younger men attempts to step forward, and he attempts to push Mei Rin. At which point you'll see her hand snake out. She grabs his wrist, and have you ever actually heard multiple bones breaking?
Not in real life, but I can certainly imagine.
It is though I have. It is a sickening sound. It actually makes you physically ill to hear. Basically, she twists his wrist, and you can hear every bone in the wrist and several of his fingers shatter as she kicks him down onto the ground, still holding the now useless hand in hers. That was a mistake. If you make another one, then I will send you on to meet your ancestors. There's whimpering.
Going ahead and looking at the old man. What ancestors do you have?
Uh, uh, I don't know. I don't know what any of this means. Business wasn't good. It wasn't my. It was my fault. If anyone should suffer, it should be me.
No. He goes ahead and waves on. No. I can go ahead and sense your need to go ahead and fall on your sword like this. But I'm going to ask you again. Do you have any ancestors?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Do you have any ancestors well within reach?
No.
Going ahead and looking at Mayrin. What if instead of the two children, this man was able to get you his ancestors?
She'll turn and she'll quirk her head to the side and she'll say, in what capacity?
As helper spirits bound to your master's will, obviously more capable than two children, and obviously less work and expense to transport them. He says an euphemism for whatever the master is about to do to the children.
Yes, that would be agreeable. She'll look at him and she'll say, did you bring your shrine or pieces of it with you? That place where you keep the mementos of the dead. I will be giving and generous, as is the suggestion of my friend here. Actually, she won't call you friend. As is the position of my acquaintance here.
That's better, much better.
Yes, I was going to say she wouldn't use the very common term or familiar or endearing term. The old man will stutter as he nods, his head clearly dejected, before he will walk back through a doorway that links the staircase that they came down. and a few minutes later he will return with a small box in which there are a number of small mementos and keepsakes. You'll see a carved piece of jade with several Chinese figures on it. You'll also see a number of small wedding ornaments traditionally worn in the hair by Chinese brides, etc. Many of them look quite old. Some of them look quite valuable.
Oh Lord. Isaac's gonna go ahead and put on his sunglasses at night because he's an asshole and a jerk, and all the other stereotypes you want to go ahead and put on this goth emo slacker, and activate Spirit Sight to see if any of this is a fucking anchor.
Okay.
Na 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 da da. 8 successes.
They are not currently a fetter, however, they could be made into one.
All right, all right. Isaac's gonna go ahead and walk over to the box of assorted memorabilia and mementos. He goes ahead and nods. With some work, this will do.
Also, we will accept your back payment, she'll say as she jerks the wrist of the man whose wrist she's still holding. There is a scream of agony as she aggravates the already shattered bones. The old man will buckle finally under the weight of all of this, tears streaming down his face as he removes a cigar box from underneath the from underneath the cashier's desk and starts to count out money until he has counted out 1,500 euros. She will then look at Isaac and she'll say, I believe our business here is concluded.
Yes, ma'am. He goes ahead and says pretty damn reverently, because, you know, she's the boss in this situation. And if she doesn't take the box of mementos, Isaac's going to go ahead and ferry it for her.
Mm-hmm. She will let the man drop into a sad pile on the ground, weeping over his broken and shattered bones, as she will step over him nonchalantly before the two will make their egress from the shop through the shattered door. I have to say, Isaac Blanchet, you have impressed me.
Some have called me an impressive individual, Meijin, right?
Mayrin.
Mayrin. Mayrin. Some people can go ahead and see beyond the facade of the mask I go ahead and wear and see something of a soul. I don't know what they go ahead and see, but I'm quite confident in my own right.
She blinks. I see. Interesting.
Isaac begins to speak in an eloquence that nobody has heard before.
You will return with me to the temple and present the offering to my master.
If that is what is required for tonight, I will be happy to go ahead and assist you in this continuing endeavor.
She will walk with you. She'll kind of head gesture. She'll kind of twerk her head for you to come with her.
Sure.
As she removes a phone from the back pocket of her jean or of her slacks, you'll see her press a couple of buttons on it and hold it to her ear. She'll say a couple of words in Japanese down the phone. She'll then hang it up. And by the time you guys get to the end of the street, there is a business saloon car waiting for you, driven by a man covered from head to foot in various different traditional Japanese tattoos, who will stand out and open the door for both of you.
All right. Isaac's going to go ahead and wait for the lady again first.
She will sit into the car.
All right. He'll go ahead and follow.
You are driven through the city streets under the various different street lamps of the city. It's about a 40-minute drive or so. The traffic is relatively light considering it's about 1 o'clock in the morning at this point. It's still relatively pleasant as an evening, as I have said. You will then be driven you'll then be driven into a car park, and you will see before you a building that looks rather, quote unquote, stupidly stereotypically Japanese.
I'm getting Bloodlines flashbacks.
Kind of. It'll become clear in a few moments. As you walk in, you will see it is called the Temple of 10,000 Happinesses. And as you step through the revolving glass doors, you will see that you are standing in a casino hotel that has a very Asian bint theme, not dissimilar to the likes of Caesar's Palace in, say, Las Vegas, for example. As you look out over the floor, you will hear very, very, very racist, comical Asian voices shout things like, "You the lucky winner!" and other such. People are dressed in almost ridiculously ostentatious kimonos, but then again, you immediately see the fact that this is for the public, and the public eat this stuff up like it was popcorn from the hand, pretty much.
So
Um,
they don't go ahead and look any further into the establishment.
no, Mayrin will,
Okay.
without talking, walk her way through the establishment proper. She will lead you to a large set of double doors that are carved with very intricate dragon designs. They're quite pretty, that
Hmm.
slide open in a more traditional Japanese style. You will find yourself in what you can only determine as, have you been to when was the last time you were at a public swimming pool?
A few years ago. Actually, no, it was last month. I was shopping for gyms, and I saw this, not necessarily a big one, but at least a Olympic Lane one. Make sense? Oh dear. I hope I'm not talking into the ether. I might be talking into the ether. Oh dear. Technical difficulties. Na 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 na. We has them. Na 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 na. We're working on giving
Sorry about that.
Evan's
For some
connection
reason,
back to track.
my
That's
internet.
okay.
But no, as I was saying, you will find yourself in a space that is what I can only describe as not dissimilar to a more high class changing room that you would find in a public swimming pool. She will walk to a large closet wherein she will throw you a bathrobe, and she will simply say, "This robe."
She'll hand me a bathrobe, ask me to disrobe. Okay, no, sure. He'll go ahead and turn around for a hot second, go ahead and slink off his gray hoodie, as well as the white T-shirt underneath. Yeah. Ugh. Okay. And he'll go ahead and buckle his jeans, shake him off after getting his sneakers off, and it's like him a few shakes to get the last leg of the jeans off, but when she eventually does, it'll go ahead and fly into the air. He goes ahead and catches it, and then hangs it up by the hook in a locker, and don the robe.
Okay. By the time you turn around, you see the fact that she is already entirely naked, but she's not wearing a robe. She doesn't seem to care.
Ah,
She will then turn on her heel and lead you through another series of large double doors at the other end. You will find yourself in a long row, or rather, you'll find yourself walking down either side of a long row of steaming hot water that is two long pools in the traditional Japanese style, in which lay and lays, you would guess about 2 dozen more men, all men and women, all covered in the same tattooed work, who look up at you from where they are laying or where they are sitting. Many of them are playing cards or drinking as they're enjoying their time together. The thing that immediately hits you is the absolute heat of this building. It is sweltering. You would very much rather not be wearing clothes in a place like this. The water is incredibly hot. You wonder how these people stand sitting in water of that heat, but it doesn't seem to bother them.
Ooh.
Do you still have your spirit side up?
Let's go ahead and say yes.
Okay.
Let's just go ahead and say that Isaac disrobed as much as possible, but kept his sunglasses on.
Okay, that's fine. As you look at them from the spirit side, you will see the fact that all of them have in the spirit world a spiritual mirror. However, this mirror has horns and elongated teeth, bulging muscles, almost as if the Oni of traditional Japan had come to life and were lazing and lounging there before you.
I mean, these people go ahead and indulge in so many vices and commit tremendous amounts of evil. They might as well be Oni.
Well, they are, but yes. um, I'm sure that your validation of their evil ways is validation enough. Said no one ever.
I like to believe that this is a conversation in Isaac's mind as he tries to rationalize all this nonsense.
Hmm. At the end of the room, there is a last set of large golden double doors that Mayrin will stop outside, and she will turn on her heel and she will say, "Remain here. You will be summoned."
Isaac just goes ahead and simply says, "Yes, ma'am."
She will step through the large double doors in front of you and close them behind her.
He'll go ahead and give a bit of a whistle and he'll go ahead and like sway his hips a little bit to a jingle inside his head. God gonna cut you down. Go tell that Dawson liar. Go
"I've got
tell
to
that
ask,"
Dawson. Yeah.
says a voice from behind you. "Who are
Hmm?
you, white boy?"
Isaac's gonna go ahead and like turn around, not expecting the voice. What he's looking at.
You see another man whose spiritual form is much the same as the other men here. Except he's probably smaller and more wiry, but his eyes flick with an interesting intelligence as he looks you up and down. You'll notice the fact that he only has 9 fingers, having missing the pinky finger on his left hand. And he will say, "Where are my manners? 9 fingers tam. Good to meet you, Guilo."
Isaac will just simply go ahead and take that as some type of possibly derogative, but hopefully not term. And I'll go ahead and like extend his hand and simply say, "I'm a blank. I'm a hollow. It's nice to meet you."
Good to meet you too. Good to meet you too. Well, I'm going to give you a piece of free advice if that's all right, Mr. Blanc.
Hmm.
When you meet the boss, I wouldn't extend the hand if you don't want to lose it.
Oh shoot! What should I do?
You've never met Lord Sideshow before, have you?
He goes ahead and like confirms, saying, "Yeah, never."
Ah. Needless to say, have you ever watched any of the old samurai movies?
Is this the idea where I should go ahead and lay my head low so that if he wanted to, he could go ahead and cut my head off, and that's the way I keep my head?
Until he tells you to raise it, you're not wrong, white boy.
Okay, okay. Anything else?
I don't know. That depends how ignorant you are.
Consider myself terribly ignorant.
Oh dear. Oh, out of character, does Isaac possess any etiquette?
Let's go ahead and see. Probably not. Nope.
I live in. Oh, Nelly, I've broken my one rule. Never let a player meet Lord Saisho without a dot of etiquette.
It'll be fine. I'll just lose my head. We'll encounter a brief paradox.
You weren't using it anyway. It's fine. It's fine. Um, but he'll say, "I tell you what, you stick close to May Ridge. She'll teach you the right way."
So basically, she does a thing, I do it, and I keep my head.
You're learning quick, Guilo. I could almost say I like you.
Well, you're not too bad, 9 fingers, for giving me that big old warning. And then you're because then points a finger. None of your fellas they're doing me no favors.
It's more so the fact that they're currently taking bets on if you survive or not.
Oh, I did not realize that I had a Deadpool on my head.
What can I say? We're enterprising gentlemen.
Okay, well, wait a minute. How did you bet?
Well, let me put it like this, white boy. I'm telling you how not to die.
that profitable a bet.
What can I say? The odds were 20-1 against you.
Okay. I now understand how mercenary you were being while trying to go ahead and give me advice. I have walked into the wrong parlor tonight.
Or the right one, depending on if you make a good impression. You do know
Folks,
that you do know who Lord Sideshow is, don't you?
if I remember correctly, he's a street boss, definitely interested in some human trafficking, and probably interested in a lot of illicit substances. And looking at this, he goes and like waves his arms around. Expensive palace. He's done pretty well for himself by not taking shit from other people.
Lord Sideshow is the Obaya of the thousand-tailed dragon Shinsengumi. Let's put it like this. If you see a slint eye anywhere in Europe, chances are he's brought them from Shanghai, Busan, or anywhere else. So you better watch your mouth. Calling him a street boss is one way to once again have that pretty Gailo head removed from your shoulders.
All right. How should I refer to the Lord?
As little as possible. But if you must, Lord Sideshow is generally considered appropriate. And if you
Lord,
meet his sister, Lady Ikiro.
Lady Ikaro, Lord Sideshow. Okay.
On the side that you just called him Lord Sideshow.
That will be interesting if it comes up. Sideshow.
At this point, at this moment, the double doors will once again open, and you will see Mayrin. She'll bow to Tam, and the two will exchange a few words in Japanese before Tam will turn away. You might just survive, Guilo. Apparently, you're bringing gifts.
He goes ahead and like looks at the cigar box and the jewelry box like underneath his arm. Is like, oh yeah, totally.
Well, on the bright side, if you're not feed for worms, you and I should have a drink sometime.
Sure. At this place, the Thousand Whispers.
That's not a bad name, actually, but it's called the 10,000 Happinesses.
You know, depending on the whisper, could be happiness.
What can I say? Good luck, Guilo.
All right. He'll go ahead and turn around from the departing Oni, the departing demon, and start to mimic Mayorin's movements and attitudes as best as possible, as he is summoned.
You will step into a room. This room is also a room in a bathhouse. There's a large central pool in the center of it from which rises lavender scented water. There were two very attractive young women seated in the bathwater who appear to be playing a game with on a table that is floating or on a marble table that was placed in the center. It looks like they're playing mahjong. Both of them have a very similar reflection in the other side as the men outside did. However, their eyes glow with a bright green, almost balefire in the spirit world.
So I know which one of these people will kill me.
Mm-hmm. There is a huge statue that dominates the other side of the room. For the record, if Isaac had matter sight on, I would tell you this room is a perfect 360-degree geometric circle. Fun fact.
Mm,
Mm,
neat.
indeed. That's really hard to do, for the record. But there's a huge dragon statue that appears to be made from gold, that appears to be made from marble, covered in gold leaf, that is situated behind the bath. In the just beside the mouth of the dragon, there is a chair. The occupant of the chair is now pictured on screen. There is one other thing of incredible importance I must mention. There is
Mhm.
a katana seated in the dragon's mouth. You have spirit sight up currently, don't you?
Yep, yep.
Does Isaac have wraith lore? I think I
He
gave him
does
wraith lore.
indeed.
Would you like to roll me intelligence wraith lore difficulty 6?
Would love to. This is gonna be fantastic and not horrible at all. I'm not gonna be like totally stunned by. I will be totally stunned. I'm not even gonna. I can't finish that. I'll be stunned. Um, difficulty of 8, 1 success. Difficulty of 7, 2 successes. But you said 8.
No, it was difficulty 6. Sorry, my brain is slow today.
Oh, well then, that is 2, 2 successes.
Okay. From your perspective, with spirit sight activated, it looks as if that sword is made from a shard of oblivion itself.
I feel a sort of kinship with it that is unbearable to my bones, but I fight the
No,
urge to run into it.
not just it feels like the end of things, the death of all.
Isaac is still damn alive and human. That'll actually make him pause and reconsider his life choices and the fact that he may or may not have a soul, and if he really doesn't want that thing to go ahead and touch it. But in any case, he will stand still at a respectful distance and wait. It doesn't matter how long it is. He is used to standing in one position for a very, very long time until he's brought forth.
Mayrin will walk to a point and she will then bow. She will then gesture for you to step forward.
All right. Isaac will go ahead and mimic Mayrin's movements. He will go ahead and stop where she stops. He'll go ahead and bow at almost the same, but probably a lot lower. And he will hold out the box in front of him as if it's not his box. It's the Lord's box now.
One of the women will extricate herself by walking up the marble stairs from the bath, and she will delicately remove the box from your hands. She will then walk to over to the dais, and she will kneel down, lower her head, and open the box. The individual will look into the box with his very, very, very. You'll also notice, actually, this is the first time he's been in a scene since this happened. His eyes are both slate black. They have no white
I
whatsoever.
can't see that because my head is bowed.
Well,
It
when you
is
look at it, you will
disrespectful
see.
to look at him.
He will say, "Please rise yourself, Mr. Blanche."
All right. Isaac will go ahead and indeed rise. Definitely see the abnormality.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to shudder.
Also, under spirit sight, he is definitely a mage. However, his aura burns with inhuman clarity.
He'll simply go ahead and say, "Thank you for allowing me into your palace and your temple as I deliver this payment that is due to you, Lord Saisho."
May we offer you tea, Mr. Blanche?
I will happily accept the hospitality that you have given.
The woman will proceed to move to where there is a steaming kettle that is placed over a single licking flame. She will then pour green tea into a small china cup, and she
Hmm.
will then walk it over to you, bowing politely before presenting it.
Hmm. He will go ahead and mimic the motion, take the tea, place it in front of him, but not drink it quite yet.
My apprentice tells me that you renegotiated a deal on our behalf and ended by granting me something of far greater value than had originally been intended.
This is true, Lord Shaisho. If you would like, I may explain myself.
Please.
Thank you. Lord Shaisho, I saw the man before me, and I saw that the man valued his family a great deal, so much so to go into debt to you, Honorable Lord Shaisho. However, I did not think that he would value his heritage over much than his own prodigy. Therefore, it was simple to request of him something much more valuable and much more inherent to his identity in order for him to safeguard his supposed prodigy.
So you assumed that the value of the future was greater than the value of the past.
Lord Shaisho, I apologize for not explaining myself more fully. To the man, he would see his prodigy as a greater value than the sacred artifacts within his shrine.
Ah, my apologies. Yes, this is. Hmm. I tend to find that most people think in one direction, and oftentimes forget the fact that as a river flows, so too it is that a river has crossed under many bridges. Hmm. Memories are a powerful foundation. Would you not agree?
Isaac will stop to think for a moment, and he'll respond, Lord Shaisho, memories hold a dear value to me, yes. It holds a dear value to many people. However, I believe your first statement, the ability to flow, the ability to think in ways we'd often not, I think that is much more valuable than holding on to those things that would anchor us and limit our potential.
An excellent answer to a rather complicated question, Mr. Blanche. You have granted me something in the form of a boon much greater than I had been expecting. You have shown deference and respect in a way that I have come to believe out of the reach of most people born in this place, well, in this country. He will lean forward and he will say, for what you have done, ask something as your payment, and it will be granted to you.
Hmm. He'll stop for a second, and he'll go ahead and give a think. May I ask for something, Lord Saisho, that is intangible?
If it is within the realms of my possibility to give, and will not, he kind of narrows his eyes, cause me too much distress, by all means.
Is it within your power to grant me a small amount of time with your apprentice? Not in any way that she would find intolerable, just a small talk, maybe a discussion. She intrigues me overly much, possibly.
He will look down and he'll say something in Japanese to his apprentice, who will kind of contemplate for a moment before she'll nod, and he will say, "She is yours for the rest of the evening."
Thank you for your generosity.
I will remember your face, Mr. Blanchet. I must say, it takes much to impress me. You will see that Mayrin will hike herself up. She was kind of kneeling. She'll hike herself up. She'll bow to the dais, and she'll kind of intimate, "You should bow," kind of like with a.
He'll definitely go ahead and mimic the motions as best he can because he is not out of the danger zone yet.
With that, she will bow facing him, and then she will take 2 steps backwards. Kind of, she'll put her hand on your belt or on the belt of your robe to kind of drag you backwards.
Uh-huh.
And she will bow again and kind of push you down ever so slightly
Okay.
before she will turn on her heel and withdraw from the room.
Would you, Isaac doesn't know what just happened, but he's glad to still have his head.
You will walk out into the bathhouse from whence you came. You will hear a lot of "Na sutaiki negodaiki bata" as you see money being exchanged, and you'll just hear 9 figures tap.
Isaac's gonna go ahead and raise his head up. Not dead.
Mayrin will look at you with her kind of. She has quite large eyes. You'd assume that she's actually mixed race from looking at her. She clearly has an Asian. She clearly one of her ancestors is Asian, but the other is clearly Caucasian. And she'll look at you and she'll say, "And what is it you wish to discuss with me?"
Tell me about yourself.
Why?
I'm curious. If you find it more comfortable to go ahead and like sit down, by all means, let's just go ahead and sit down.
One moment, I just had to answer a message. She'll say, "Very well. Would you like to follow me?"
Mm-hmm.
For the record, Isaac still has tea in his hand.
Well, that's not gonna go back into the inner sanctum anytime soon.
Do you sip it along the way?
Absolutely. I go ahead and sip it as one goes ahead and sips coffee and or some other celebratory drinks, alcoholic or whatever, because he did a good. He did a good, and he's not dead.
You will find your way out into. She will lead you out into the crisp night air, into what appears to be a Zen garden. You will see You will see a large raked sand pit in front of you, containing white sand, and there's a large rock that is situated in the center of it. But she will sit at the edge of the Zen garden in her quasi meditative kneeling state, and she'll say, "You wished to know about me."
I believe you cut out. I apologize.
Oh, how far did you get?
We may be having issues a little bit. Let himself go ahead and like be taken by the bit of the breeze or the chill. It is still like in the summer season, but it is slowly becoming fall, and the extreme temperature change of hot sauna and the cool evening. It's refreshing to him.
You're
Because
also still not wearing clothes, if it helps.
I know. Exactly. It's all in his chest right now. He's got new life that he didn't know that he had.
Mm-hmm.
But again, he sits down and in response to her question, "Why do you wish to know me?" Isaac will go ahead and respond, I wish to know you because when I saw you first, you were like a still pond that did not ripple or move. And it was that stillness that intrigued me because other people are more like streams or rivers, sometimes oceans, but never a still pond. So I wish to know more about you. Where do you come from? How'd you get in this line of work?
Ultimately, one must be the outward reflection of oneself. So it is that when one strives for serenity, does one not attempt to find the stillness within all things?
He goes ahead and shrugs. I am not up on my Eastern philosophies, madam.
But to answer your question, I was born just outside Sichuan in China. That is where I come from.
Did the Lord go ahead and ferry you across the waters here? Or did you find some other way to Dublin?
Oh, hmm. My mother was a teacher and my father was in the diplomatic service. However, when I awoke, I was found by one of the brothers from the local Akashic temple, and he deigned to begin my training until such time as I had to choose my own path. When I chose the path that I chose, Lord Saisha became my teacher, and so it was I joined him here, and so I have been for the last 3 years.
As I go ahead and nod at that. I guess it's sort of similar to my story. Lived out in pretty much a rural area outside of New York. Did not awaken for many, many years. Even, okay. Came here because I wanted a new life, a new job, whatever have you. I was going to be all set up with a very, very milk toast existence, milk toast apartment, milk toast fiance, actually, milk toast job. But one by one, those aspects of my life just sort of got knocked down, burned away, whatever have you. And I sort of stood around here in Dublin for a number of years. Didn't awaken still until I got stabbed. And then, just then shrugs. I finally hit bottom and things didn't matter no more. And that's
She
when I started
will
doing things.
she will very slowly, actually quite quickly rather, she'll hike herself up onto from her feet or from her
Mhm.
knees onto her into a low crouch, and she leans forward. She opens your dressing gown, and she is going to find the stab wound mark,
Oh
the
yeah,
start.
it's definitely right there. That scar has not gone away.
I see. So in that last moment, that last breath, you decided that you would not, and you were not. So it is that you still are.
Isaac, I, Isaac, it definitely is for a moment pleasantly surprised and pleased as he simply says, "Yes, yes, that was my epiphany. That was when it all didn't matter. That's when I was empty."
Oftentimes, an empty cup glories in the fact that it once held one thing, but then has the chance to hold another.
Isaac doesn't have many words after that. Do you ever think about what you do for the Lord Sideshow in there.
Hmm. In what manner?
Is there ever a conscious thought? Do you ever stray from the directives of your Lord, or are you simply like a flowing river? You act and you do because it is directed.
Hmm. I act because I am deigned to act. My lord and those like him perform a vital service for our order. She'll lean back and she'll kind of sit back on her haunches and she'll say, while it is the Vajrapani pray and the Lehigh talk of debate and the open fist, so it is that the enlightened aristocrats must procure the funding, so it is that we can continue to battle the five metal dragons, or as you would call them, the Technocratic Union. My master must bloody and sully his hands so that we will not be overwhelmed and so we will not be overrun, and I am proud to serve him.
Are you saying that when you act, when you grab that young man in when you grabbed that young man in that antique shop and you snapped his wrist, that was not you acting, but that was your Lord?
That was me facilitating. Ultimately, I was given a task. How I performed the task, it is entirely non-sequential compared to the results.
Ah, I see. I was just gonna go ahead and like let that go ahead and linger in the air. The I see, the slightly disappointed I see, the I see as in I thought I saw something, but now I'm not sure.
If she sees anything in your statement, it is not apparent on her face.
I do thank you for allowing me to accompany you this evening and see you work, see a different side of things, see this beautiful temple. But most importantly, he goes ahead and lets that linger a little bit. I find it I, I find that feminine beauty it overtakes me too often, and sometimes I act rashly.
You act because it is in your heart to act. There is no shame in that.
You said that you were impressed. Why were you impressed? Were you impressed simply because you thought that you get a greater haul for the Lord?
No, because you thought outside of the box and you offered an opportunity and a solution I did not see. I'm always impressed when people show intelligence and initiative.
I'm very glad to go ahead and give you a different side of things. I do not think that I will be doing that work, your work, myself. It is, I don't believe that is the path I'm called down, but I do appreciate your skills and your freaking strength. The ability to go ahead and articulate a man's risk and simply bend it, the kind of force there, I'm not ignorant of that.
I did not need to use a great deal of force. I merely used his force against him.
Flow, right?
There's a nod.
Why did you take this path? You may have told me, but I want to know more in detail.
Hmm. Lord Sideshow is one of the five masters of our order who possess one of the five sacred treasures the Ashkagic way. You, I believe, saw it. The fang of the dragon who guards the void.
Mm-hmm.
When it was that he required an apprentice, there was no higher honor, and so it was I was honored by becoming his apprentice. She'll shrug. Ultimately, this is the path that I've chosen. I dedicate my life to a cause. I believe in what it is that we are trying to do here, not just here, but everywhere. Ultimately, in order to defeat the five metal dragons, in order to fight back the Technocratic Union, blood needs to be spilled. Sometimes it must be the blood of innocence. I have to accept this and stain my karma so that I may do greater good.
Blink, blink. Isaac seriously questions if he's in an Akashic stronghold or a Thanatoid stronghold for a hot second.
Ironically, this particular sect, from an out of character perspective, this particular sect of the Akashiana were very heavily influenced by Thanatos thinking during the Himalayan War.
Oh, that makes stupid amounts of sense. Okay.
Mm.
Isaac will go ahead and simply say, well, I hope that at the end of your path, however it may end, that the karma that you have acquired does not go ahead and overly burden your soul, and that you may find a peace.
Hmm. She will look at you and she'll blink her eyes twice, like blink, 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 blink. And she will say, and I will hope that you find something to once again fill your cup, Isaac. That's the first time she has called you Isaac.
Aww. If Isaac has any sort of inclination to, oh, fuck it, he smiles.
And on this one glorious, almost romantic moment between two people who cannot express how it is they might or might not feel, we will end the scene. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. This has been another scene in Darkness in Dublin. Have a pleasant evening.